We will now look at onboarding. Clicking the flyout menu on the left, at the top, we have onboarding. Clicking this will give you two options, Splashpages or Access Journeys. We'll look at Splashpages first of all, so clicking into there. The template library will load. Any existing templates already created will be displayed, along with their name, any language versions, the date it was created, its ownership scope, its type, so whether it's online or offline, and if it's a standard or custom HTML splash page. We do have some system templates. Clicking into here, you can see we have the Purple Wi-Fi default, and then a number of different sector-specific splash pages. All standard apart from the NHS template, which is a custom HTML splash page. You always have the flyout menus, so clicking onto here, we have the Preview Desktop, Preview Mobile, or duplicate this and obviously add to it and use it as a template for our new splash page. If you wanted to preview them, it loads up and there's our custom HTML, whereas if we just looked at the standard preview for the Purple desktop, there it is, and we can quite easily jump between desktop and mobile version. Back into My Templates, we also have the menu options against any existing templates. So from here, we can edit. So if you wanted to add anything to this, you can do. We can update the details. That'll allow us to update the template name, update the ownership scope. We can also duplicate this. So if you wanted to use this as a core template, you're able to duplicate and then add to that as required. Again, preview as a desktop, preview as a mobile, or we can delete as required. If you wanted to access any of these templates, you can click onto the name at the top. We do have the Create New Template button, so if you wanted to start one from scratch, when you click into here, you have the ability to give it a name. Select whether it's online or offline, the ownership scope, and whether it's a standard or custom HTML. And we'll create a custom HTML shortly. But first of all, let's have a look at the online or offline. So we'll have a look at an offline first of all. I'm going to click into Ocean Hotel Offline Splash page. I could have started one from scratch, but from here we have lots of imagery already inserted into the splash page, so we can go through the available functionality here. Now, the splash pages are split into two areas. You have header and content. The header area is your logo, logging in methods, and the background imagery, whereas the content area is for things like your multi-purpose content boxes, weather widget, your Twitter or Facebook feeds. So you're able to add both of these areas. Let's have a look at the header first. Along the top, we have the name of the splash page we're working on. You can return to the library. We're able to preview the page as a mobile or as a desktop. You have the ability to save, as well as the page tools. Then we've got some preset colours. If you wanted to change the colour scheme, you can by clicking on these colours to change any background. But sometimes you need to make sure it works with your logo. If you don't want to use one of our predefined preset colours, you can choose the custom colour picker and then enter your specific RGB colour code for the primary colour and background fill colour. You then have the header modules. Due to all the header modules being active, so all currently on, we have the logo, which is here, and the text box. Now, if you were to turn any of these off, so if I was to delete the text box, for example, and confirm, you can see that this then becomes available to select from the module box. Selecting it again will add it back onto your splash page. You can move the boxes, and it's essentially two columns. You've got your left-hand column and your right-hand column. We can move this over to the right, back onto the left at the bottom, or at the top of the screen. In the text box, you can enter text, but with limited characters. You can change the colour of the font. We can delete or move as required. To the right, you then see a message. Choose how to access our Wi-Fi network. We can change the background colour if required, again entering an RGB code. Then you have your methods of logging in, and if I scroll down a little, you can see here easy available methods. We have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and the registration form. There are some other login options, but these are region-specific. But in this example, these are what we have available. If you didn't want Instagram to be available to the user as it's currently active, you can select the Instagram button. The tick that appears, it then goes grey and it disappears from the login method. The ones that are active, you can see we've got these little move icons, so we can change the order in which these are displayed. The registration form has a little pencil icon. Clicking this will allow you to edit what's presented to the user who will log in with a form. We have the option to enable or disable any of the fields. If it's disabled, they won't see that option and so won't be asked. If it's enabled, they will, and making it optional means that they don't have to complete it. As soon as I select that option, the little star has been removed from the gender, but making it mandatory again, the star returns. You've got the move icons, so you can move and change the order in which these are displayed. Scrolling down, you can see at the very bottom you've got some custom fields. We're asking specific questions, but you may have one piece of information that you want to obtain from the end user. So creating a custom field will be a way for you to collect that data. Clicking Add Custom Field, you can see gives us a label, so we can give it a name. Let's call it ID, for example. Whether it's going to be responses in text, number, or perhaps both, and then just click on Save. This custom field then appears. You can then edit, enable, or disable, make optional or mandatory, and changing the order of only the ones within the custom fields. You can create multiple as required. And then when they're created, you can move these around. Clicking Save will save those changes, and they'll then be presented to the end user. Now with the logo, if I just delete this logo off for a second and confirm whether you have a logo box where you're going to insert an image, it'll always give you the file format and the pixel size. Sometimes it'll be the maximum pixel size, sometimes it'll be a minimum, depending on where on the system you're inserting the image. Scrolling down, we have a background image on here, and this is displayed because we've added within the header area. You can upload a header image or create an image slider. If you upload one image, it'll be a static image, always displaying. But if you upload more than one, then it will become an image slider. So the images will just periodically change, depending on how long the user is on the splash page for. I've currently got 3 on here. You can have up to 7 within this image slider. What you can also do is, at the moment, if I just preview this as a desktop, the background image is just sat behind the header. The content that I quickly showed you before doesn't have the image behind. If you wanted the image to be full screen, then we have this option towards the bottom of the page, full-size background image. Turning this option on can sometimes stretch the image, so it doesn't look as good. You can tile the image, but only if you only have the one. If it's an image slider, it won't let you do a tile background image. Finally, just on the left here, we have the option Set Text Box Transparent. At the moment, you can see it's not. Turning it on, it then becomes transparent, but just be conscious of the colouring of the text you've entered. You can also set the header height. The header height changes depending on what image you add onto here, but you can fix this to a certain header height as required, and it will scale the image to make sure it sits within that specific area you've specified. Going back up to the top and click onto Content, the page will load and you have the content modules at the top here. In here, we have the option to add multi-purpose content boxes. We have the Twitter feed, Facebook feed, and the local weather. The local weather's turned on, so you can only have this turned on the once, and the same with the Twitter and Facebook feed. But with a multi-purpose content box, you can add as many of these as you like, and when you do add them, they'll always appear at the bottom. But again, we've got the move icon, so we can change the order. We can make it full screen, so when you're viewing on a laptop, it'll be a bigger area. Whereas if it's a mobile, it will shrink it to the one column. And the way it works is everything on the right will move over to the left, but it also goes off height. So if this was the example, this would appear first. You'd then have this second, this third, and this fourth, and then fifth. It does determine on there the height as well as the order it's displayed in. Now with the local weather, you can, if required, change the location. It picks up the venue details by default, but you've got the pencil icon where you can search for an alternate location. You can also switch between Celsius or Fahrenheit, and you can also skip further ahead or go back. In a multi-purpose content box, you've got 3 areas. You have header. You can type in here. You have image. You can have up to 3 background images in here. And then you've got text. So this is just a free-form text box. As you can see on this example, we've turned off the header and text, and it's just simply imagery, whereas this one is simply a free-form text box. This one has multiple images, so this will periodically change depending on how long they're on there for, whereas this is just the one static image. Again, where there's an image, you get the file format and pixel size. This example, it's a maximum size. And we've got the Twitter feed active here. So within the management area, you'd need to have linked your Twitter account within linked networks for this to appear. Now, if you haven't linked it, which I haven't, then it would display to the user like this, so you'd need to delete it. The same principles for Facebook. It would appear like this if it hasn't been linked. If it has been linked to your Facebook account, and it has to be a business account, you'll simply have the feed pulled through directly into this window. So that's the content area. If I just click Save at the top, it'll save the template. You'll also notice as well now, it's advising the splash page is now successfully saved. We also have a Save with Version history. Clicking this option, it's now given us an additional icon, and this is the version management. So essentially, you're able to create versions. If you wanted to make a slight alteration, perhaps it's just going to be only live for a week and then revert back. And if you save that version, it's a lot easier to revert back to it. Any previous versions will be displayed in here with the date and time. You're able to preview them, and then the ability to either overwrite and update this template we're working on, or create a brand new unpublished template back in the library. So if I click back to the library, you can see there's our offline splash page.